to your profile on Facebook, I should be able to find this link and share it on my pages.
Yeah, I believe so.
All right. Well, that's we're gonna try to do that.
That's assuming it works. Oh yeah, looks like we're live. Yeah, man.
YouTube.
There you are.
All right, we're live. We're officially live. We're on the D Live. We're on the Facebooks. We're on the YouTubes. I think we're on the YouTubes. Let me see. Sorry for anybody who's already coming in to join in on the fun. It's gonna be a little boring. Oh yeah, man, we're live all over the place. Holy smokes. Incredible. All right, man, you want to kick this thing off? You ready to roll there, Keith, or what, man?
I'm ready to go. My camera's frozen again, you see.
It is.
I'm going to turn that off because that was a really unflattering position that I was sitting in.
You look great, Keith. You look so good.
I have a face for radio. I know this.
All right, man. Well, hello, everyone. It's me, Mitch Murphy, the Red Pilled Rapper on thoughtcrimes.ca. Welcome back to another episode of the Red Pilled Rapper Show. We got some stuff to talk about today, but first, a word from our sponsors. Our first sponsor of the day is MissFortuneCookie.ca. David Kopp used to run the entire comedy scene around here in Kelowna, all over the valley, until this big, spooky, scary, bad man virus wiped out his entire situation. It just wiped it out. And so now he sells cookies, and they're called Misfortune cookies. You know what I'm saying? Now we got Karen 1776 in the chat. Karen, just ask Jack for my cell number. All right, but don't call in yet. Now our sponsor for the day is MissFortuneCookie.ca. It's David Kopp. He used to run the comedy scene, but now he sells the best cookies you can find in the whole freaking valley. Man, buy his cookies. He'll write custom little jokes for you, and he'll put them in the cookies. And just buy them. MissFortuneCookies.ca, or add him on Facebook. David Kopp, best cookies in the whole freaking valley. Now today, there's some history being made today. And if anybody doesn't know, we got Kieth Komar in the chat with me, the leader of the Libertarian Party. Would you say hello, Keith? Are you still there, man?
I'm here. No camera working today. I just tried to get it going. But leader of the Ontario Libertarian Party. And always proud to be on your show and to join you in your rants.
Hey, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Now, I just want to vouch for anybody who's watching that Keith is so incredibly handsome. He is so handsome. If you could see it, you'd be like, wow, he's handsome. It's all heck. You know what I'm saying? But man, let me just run through a little Corona, a little bit of history for the people today. So there's a bit of a war going on. And I think that a lot of people aren't even really aware of what exactly is going on. And that now with what we have going on with this GameStop situation, what we need to understand is that this is a serious battle that we have on our hands here. This is a really, really big freaking deal. And I think a lot of us who have eyes wide open, regardless of what team you're on, regardless of what side you're on, a lot of us have looked around and seen that something is wrong. Something is like very, very wrong systemically in the world that we live in, and I've been overdosing on red pills for the last couple of weeks from talking to guys like Keith and talking to different people, in that my eyes have been very much open to what we got going on and why we see what we have going on. We've had the BLM movement. We've had Donald Trump getting elected, and all these different things that are happening. They all have one thing in common, and that's populism. We have populism on the rise around the whole freaking world, man. And like, everybody knows that there's something wrong. Everybody knows that there's something deeply, fundamentally wrong with what we got going on. And people like me and whoever's listening, probably people like you, a lot of us have seen that something's wrong. And so for myself, I thought, I better pick a side. And I better vehemently fight for that side. You know what I mean? And refuse to leave that side and refuse to give any ground, because that makes sense, especially if you're a strong person, especially if you're an opinionated person. You want to pick a side and fight for that side, and you want to win. You know what I mean? And I know all about that, but it's been dawning on me more and more that while we're all fighting each other, and I'm guilty of it. Well, a lot of us are guilty of it. We're just like bashing heads together, and it never ends when we actually have like a very common enemy, man. We actually really do. And for me, this veil has been lifted, and I think it's going to be lifted for a lot of other people. And some of the stuff I'm going to say in today's stream is going to be a little contradictory to some of the rhetoric that I've put out. And sorry, I'm a living Freeman, and sometimes I change my mind, and that's kind of the whole point of this. That's it, Keith.
We grow as humans, and if you're not willing to listen to information and accept new information in and change who you are and grow as a person, you've already failed yourself as a human being, because that is the most fundamental thing that we have that separates us from the rest of the animals on this planet, is we can self-reflect. And we can look at things and objectively make decisions about them. And sometimes we grow and change. And that's a fantastic thing. And I'm glad you said that. And I didn't want to stop you in your rant because you're kicking ass.
Worries, man.
But I wanted to point that out to people that, if you're not willing to hear the other side, you're not willing to grow and expand your horizons, you've already failed yourself. So carry on.
That's it, man. And I appreciate that sentiment, because, we live with this cancel culture, I call it cancer culture. It's like, there's a large movement of people that want to define people by something that they said or something that they did. And I just don't believe in it. And I also don't believe in labeling someone as a word. I don't. I believe that people are fluid and they change, and sometimes they get worse and sometimes they get better. But aside from all that, I've noticed that there's been this trend, man. Like when Obama ran, it was change. And then Trump, it was make America great again. And they both won. And the slogan says a lot about the campaign. And like whether you're left, right, libertarian, socialist, commie, whatever, we all know that something is fundamentally wrong. Like you'll find with young people that are getting involved in the political system, a lot of us are pretty intense, man. We're either like, we want to eat the rich, or you're like me and you're like, taxation is theft. Like we all have these like wild ideas because we all know that the system we're living in is wrong. It's not right, man. It's not right. And something has to change, And like a lot of us have picked a side. Like some of us are sympathetic to people who threw Molotov cocktails at cop cars during a BLM protest. Or some of us are sympathetic to dudes in MAGA hats punching riot police at the Capitol. Like a lot of us have made justifications for violence that's based on a belief that all other avenues have been exacerbated. That's generally like what you find if you talk to people that are sympathetic to some of these movements and different things that are going on. But something happened today. And Keith, it's big. It's really, really big, man. And if you look closely, you'll see it for what it is. You'll see it for what it is. And like some of these ideas, I just want to be clear, are not necessarily organically my own. I want to give some credit to Owen Benjamin, Kyle Kalinske, Tim Pool, and Jimmy Dore. These are people that have been a little bit ahead of the curve in the new media landscape, and they brought some of these ideas to my head. So I just want to give them credit and not come across like I'm trying to steal it. But man, like what I saw today is a big shift. It's a really, really big freaking deal, man. It's a huge deal because every time that something big happens, what we see is a wealth transfer. We see a wealth transfer from the poor to the rich. When the housing market crashed because the banks made a decision to give loans to people that shouldn't have gotten those loans because they knew they could profit off it, and then they bundled them all together. They crashed the housing market because they made a bad choice. And instead of the free market doing its thing and letting these banks fail like they deserve, they got bonuses because the big beefy government, who's really good friends with those banks, bailed them out. They bailed them out so hard that they got bonuses. And when the big spooky bad man virus came out, small business shut down. Big business has been propped up, man. And we, like, through coronavirus, regardless of what you think, it's undeniable that we've seen the biggest wealth transfer in human history from poor to rich. And that's what's happened, man. That's absolutely what has happened. And what we saw today was a wealth transfer from rich to poor. And you'll notice if you look around, man, if you look around at like Twitter and Facebook and these different sites, people that are paying attention, everybody's happy. Everybody's happy, man. Ted Cruz is happy. AOC's happy. Everybody's happy. I'm happy. Keith is happy. Everybody's happy. And this is a moment where we all need to understand that regardless of what you think about these other people culturally or politically or whatever, I feel very strongly that this is the time for us to realize that the severe level of common ground that we have right now, it's huge, Keith. It's huge because every level, every person that is in the population that doesn't work on Wall Street is really happy about what they're seeing because the little guy took matters into their own hands. And you'll notice that anybody who does that faces a huge backlash. If you're Donald Trump and you run on a campaign and regardless of what he did, I'm just talking about why they voted for him, which was his campaign. He campaigned on bringing people back from overseas wars, you know, and he campaigned on draining the swamp, and he campaigned on very populist ideas, things that were good for the general public and buying American. And he failed on a lot of those things, but that's what he campaigned on. That's why people voted for him. And that's why they stormed the Capitol, is because they want those things to happen. They want those things to happen. And we have a media establishment that wants us stabbing each other over which Band-Aid is best right now, man. That's what we have. And I think that they're going to do it right now, Keith. I think that we're going to see a lot of talk about, you know, things like anti-Semitism on Reddit. I think that we're going to see things like that, because every time that somebody goes against the establishment or Wall Street or the banks or any of these places, you see names hurled at them. You see names and you see silencing. And what we saw today was Robinhood, who based their brand on the idea of stealing from the rich and giving to the poor. What they did when these group of gamers did what they did, which was they played the game. You know what I mean? They played the game. And so what Robinhood did was they shut it down instantly. They shut it down really, really quick. And what they did was they made it so that you can sell those stocks, but you can't buy them, which is directly influences the markets. And that's not free market, man. That's not free market, and it's wrong. And we should look at it for what it is, because this is dangerous, man. And these young people, these Zoomers, these gamers, they were all just chatting in their little chat rooms, and somebody noticed something. They noticed that, hey, these people think that GameStop is going to go under. We like GameStop. We should prop that company up, which is totally ethical and beautiful and awesome. And so they dumped a bunch of money into it. And now these hedge fund managers, because they were doing shady stuff, they're facing $70 billion, $70 billion in losses. And these young people, these Zoomers, these gamers, what these elite people don't understand is that they thought, if we can, and this is like my perspective, okay, keep that in mind, but it's not like a conspiracy theory. There's some reality to it, is that they thought if we could just keep these kids in their basement, keep them playing video games, and just feed them corn syrup, that they're not going to get too involved. And they probably won't realize how severely they're being effed, man, effed by the establishment. And
there's one more thing I want to add to that.
Yeah, let's hear it, Keith.
And really what happened today was and I love to say this phrase, the emperor has no clothes. And they've all, you know, they play these games, and they have this big mysterious, you know, veil around them that they're almighty and all powerful, and you have no say, and there's nothing you can do to change it. Well, what happened today was we saw that that's bullshit. We can actually totally change things if we just get together and do it. And it started small, and people started buying that stock, and then other people started buying that stock. And what happened was 10 million people bought one share instead of one guy buying 10 million shares and affecting it like it always happens. 10 million people bought one share and did the same thing. And we propped up a stock today to the point where it was unbelievable. Mm-hmm. And no one thought that we had that much power. But there you go. There is the example, is that we have more power because we have the numbers, and we always have, and the emperor wears no clothes. And you see it today. This is a perfect example of everybody going, wow, look at what we can do. And they're scared shitless of that, because now it's on. Now we know we have the power, and there's nothing they can do to stop it. The only way you can stop this now is if you shut down the game completely, and you don't let anybody ever play again, because what they're doing is they're cheating now. Now it's akin to playing a board game with someone like Monopoly, and the other guy gets all the money, and then you land on Boardwalk, and before you pay him, you flip the board over and go, F this, I'm done playing. That's what they did today. So it's pay attention, people, because we have the power, and it got shown today, and they were exposed for what they are, and they're false prophets and false emperors, and they don't have the power. We have the power as people. Carry on.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And these gamers and these Zoomers, they know games, and they know rules, and they know how to play games. And man, these guys, the game that they've figured out is green graph, go up. You know what I mean? Green graph, go up. And they've got zero sympathy for these hedge fund managers, man, because everybody knows on one level or another, everybody's aware that we've been screwed by these people from day one. They're the same people that get bonuses after they crash the housing market. And we can't buy a house. I mean, you can, right? I don't mean to be defeatist, but they're just playing the game. And it's like you say, the emperor has no clothes. It's been shown, it's been proven that it's rigged against us, and they cannot hide that anymore, man. They cannot hide how truly rigged this system is against us and in favor of them.
Sure. So now let's there's so much to unpack about this today. So I hope you're all willing to sit down and bear with me as we unpack this piece by piece, because there's a lot going on here, and there's an ultimate ending to this that I want you all to follow my journey and come to the conclusion that I've come to, and that not too many people talk about. So I post a lot on our Facebook page, on the OLP page. And the other day I put up a Ron Paul episode, one of his Ron Paul's Freedom Reports, or
Liberty Report
that he does. So it was about fascism, and it was a conversation about how big business and big government are in bed together. And that's what true fascism really is. So right away after I posted it, the first person shared it and said, "Hey, Keith, I got a warning for that. I got a community violation for that." Another guy had his page taken down for 3 days. As soon as it went back up, he reposted it and he got a 7-day suspension for it. So put that into the back burner now. Facebook doesn't like the word fascism. As soon as it shows up in the algorithm, you're bounced. And I post a lot of shit, and I put a lot of things on my page, and they didn't take me down, but there were certain people out there that posted that, and they were removed. And so now, if Ron Paul's speaking the truth, and we all understand that they're pulling away media that they don't want to have happen, and I can post anything, but the minute the word fascism comes in, people start getting their stuff pulled off. That's your start of the red flag. That word itself means something to them that they don't want you to know. And they always talk about how fascism is a bigot or a racist, or you're going to burn Jews, or, there's this Hitler thing attached to fascism. And all fascism is really, by definition, is it's big business and big corporations in bed together to screw you over. So now we come to this modern day game that we're playing, and the banks own everything. They print your money. They print your money out of nothing, sell it back to your country at interest, and reap the taxes that we pay our government for the privilege of printing this money. The game is completely loaded. It's completely screwed. When the banks start to fail and we can't pay the bills, instead of giving us the money, instead of bailing us out so we could pay our mortgages, they bail out the banks. The banks then foreclose on your house because you can't pay it, and they're solvent again. They're fine. So they'll just take your house and sell it. They'll eat your assets. So now you come to this game today where we finally stuck it to them. The man stuck it to big business and big corporations. And what is the first thing that happens is they close the door.
Instantly, man.
And there's not a government legislature out there who is saying anything against this. There's no, there's nobody who's doing anything to stop these guys from skewing the game the way they have now. We've shown that when we are going to beat them, they're not going to accept it. They won't take a loss here. They don't want to take a loss here, even though we got them. The people out there got them today. $70 billion. Imagine a hedge fund finally getting screwed over for $70 billion. Good for you guys. It serves you right for playing dirty in the first place. But now here we are. They won't let us sell it out. They won't let us take our $70 billion out. Right? They won't let us stick it to them. They're going to make us drop that stock. They're going to make it fall manually. So that tells you right there that big business and big government is in control of you. And we live in fascism, and we have lived in fascism in this country since the end of World War II. So is the United States. That is just how it is. We are, the fascists didn't lose the war. They moved.
Right.
They left Germany. They went to Argentina. They came to the United States. Operation Paperclip exists. This is a real thing. It never died. And it's an illusion that you've been free for a long time. And the minute any president or prime minister or anybody tries to speak freedom or to not fight wars or to do any of that shit, they're gone. Kennedy, they shot him. The last president after Kennedy that didn't start any wars was Jimmy Carter. Everybody talks about how he was a feckless leader.
Yeah.
Right. He one term, peanut eating, hillbilly. Well, that's because he didn't start any wars. He didn't cause any problems. So get rid of that guy. He's useless. Donald Trump again. Now he's the first one since then who didn't start any wars. And for anything you can say about Donald Trump, you can't say that he was, he started any incursions. He tried to pull out. They wouldn't let him pull out. So this is ultimately what's been going on is the fascists have control. They always have. They did not lose the war. And you are up against big business and you are up against your government who's in bed with that same big business. And you saw how to beat them today. The ultimate answer is left isn't wrong, right isn't wrong. We aren't fighting each other. This is an authority versus liberty conversation. We're either free or we're not free. And any government that's willing to use the hammer on the other side, if the left comes in and you're going to pass those, legislations that hurt the right, and the same with the right, if you're willing to go into government and pass legislation that's going to hurt the people on the left, you're just the same authoritarian. You're a fascist. You're wrong. Don't do it. And that's the conversation that comes from what happened today, is that we need to rout these government bastards out. We need to get rid of this bank. The central bank has to go. Until that bank leaves, we're screwed. So here's you see your enemy now. Today, the curtain came back and you saw who you're fighting. It's not Antifa. It's not BLM. It's not the MAGA hats. It's not the Proud Boys. It's not the Bernie Bros.
It's not Antifa.
We all have the same common enemy, and it's the bank. The bank owns you. And they want to keep owning you. And as long as you're fighting your neighbor, you're not paying attention to the bank screwing you. And today was the eye opener. There's your enemy.
Yeah, that's it, man. That's it. And it's huge. It's huge. And I want to make an appeal to anybody who supports people like Jagmeet Singh, people like Justin Trudeau, even the Green Party, man. I want to make an appeal to these people because at the end of the day, all you're doing is you're just bloating. You're just bloating these people. And, get the last thing that these people need is more funding. It's more funding. It's the last thing that these people need because the game is rigged and they are in the game and they are in the club and they're in the club. It's like George Carlin, man. They're in a big club. There's a big club and you're not in it. You're not
invited. You're not invited.
We don't get in these conversations. You know what I mean? Like if you and your friends are on a Reddit forum and you see, hey, all these hedge fund guys think that this stock's going to fail, we should buy it. And you do that. Not only will they stop that, not only will they stop you in your tracks, but they will actively try to hurt your movement, man. These people don't care about you. They don't know you. And you're not in the room when they're making those decisions. When they call the CEO of Robinhood and say, we got to shut this down. I'm not going to be able to buy my yacht next week. You got to shut it down. We're not in those conversations because we're not in the club. We're not in the club. We should keep our money. We should keep our money and we should keep our liberty and our power. And we should, a sentiment I hear quite often is that, people are so stupid. I don't trust them to, I don't trust them to take, act accordingly so that we can have a civil society. And man, they sound a lot like these same elitist pricks that are actively screwing us over. That's what they think. They think, oh, these people are so stupid. We can just keep taking their money. We can make them do all these things and working for us, That's what they're doing in these rooms. And it's time to stop. It's time to stop funding them. Giving them more money is not it's not gonna let you buy a house. It's not gonna increase your wages. It's not gonna help you whatsoever. It's time to stop, man. It's time to stop.
Here's the question you need to ask your politician. Do you support the IMF? Do you think we should stay on this banking system? Because that's really that's the ultimate question right there. Either we stay slaves of the IMF and they continue to print our money, because as long as they're printing the money, it doesn't even matter if we push back against these guys. Because now you can unfund them by $70 billion, but they own the bank. The bank's just going to print that money and float these guys. We've already seen what happens when we insolve the bank. You're not going to beat them that way because they're just going to print money and turn your $70 billion into 35 by inflating it. They can outprint you. They hold the printer. You see, that's what needs to be, emphasized today, is that they hold the printer of the money. They're literally printing the money and picture playing Monopoly again. If I can print as much money as I want, you can't beat me. Doesn't matter what you own on the board. It doesn't matter what happens. I can afford to buy you right off the board. And I don't feel any of that pain. The person who feels the pain is the guy who was paying $2 for a loaf of bread. Now he's paying $5. He's the guy that feels the pain. I never feel the pain because I hold the printer and I can make more of it and more of it and more of it and more of it. That's the only question you need to ask your politician to know if he stands for the people or if he stands for fascism.
Yes, Keith, that's it, man. That's it. And every step of the way, we're fighting each other, man. Every step of the way, we're fighting each other. We're calling each other names. And I'm guilty too. I'm guilty of this too. I'm not taking myself out of this, but we're constantly at each other's throats and it's because the root of the problem is right there. It's right there. It's that they can shut down your business, but the Fed can still pump $1 trillion a day into the stock market,
Sure.
and they can play the game. There's thousands of instances like this, but there was one in particular that was very recently where they caught like over 100 local news stations reading the same script about Amazon and about how their productivity is at an all-time high and safety is our main concern. And that's what they do. That's just like you and your friends on a Reddit forum saying, hey, we like GameStop. Let's buy GameStop stocks. That's the same thing, except they have all the power and they have the man on the television and they print the money. They have all this. They control the whole thing because they're all they're in the big club and you're not in it, Keith. You and I aren't in the club, man.
And you never will be in that club. So you have to get rid of the club. Can we put on our tinfoil hats and just walk through history? Let's do this, because these are things that people don't understand and they don't know that they happened throughout history. And if you know your history, you won't repeat it. Right. So back in the 1900s, early on in the 1900s, we didn't have a central bank in the United States. Jackson got rid of it in 1834. America flourished. It was the best they'd ever done. But there was always that influence. They wanted to get that central bank back. And they knew that the people didn't trust that. So they hired, and you're talking, this is the rich families. This is the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds and the ones that sit at the top. And they're like, how do we influence culture? What do we need to do to change this? Because we need to set this up in the United States. We need to have control of these people, because if they keep growing and they're free, we're going to lose the cabal. This is going to end.
Mm-hmm.
So they put their greatest minds, they paid top dollar to these people who do studies, and they went around and they studied society. How can we influence it? And the answer that they came back with was, you need to own about 75% of the newspapers in America, because that's what the culture is at that point in time. If you can keep the articles in every city saying the same thing, you will sway culture to a certain narrative. So then they set out and started buying the newspapers. And then Edward Bernays comes along and shows you how to do real propaganda. I urge everybody out there to read some Edward Bernays and find out who he is and what he does in history, because he's a key point in this. But then you come into World War II and the CIA gets formed. And the first thing that they do as a group is they start infiltrating the media. They get guys who are on TV, doing news, doing broadcasting. So who owns you is this media outlet. They understand that if they own all of these media outlets and they just keep projecting the same message at you, you're all going to start singing the same tune. And then they realized that, well, if we want them to fight, all we have to do is have two sides of that news talking about opposite points, and the people will slowly filter themselves into those groups, and then we'll start fighting with each other. And now with social media, they have predictive text, like everything is predicted on there. So you go to a certain site and it starts showing you more of those sites. So now they're literally just pointing you in two different directions on purpose to fight with each other. This is just so smoke and mirrors. But this has been going on in North America from the beginning of the United States. They've wanted the central bank, and they fought it. This is the third in third life of the central bank of the United States. So this is not an old problem, but we need to realize that, and we honestly have to keep the focus on that issue. If we do not have free money, we will never win the game, because they will always continue to print it. And they've been doing this, and they've done the studies, and they know how to keep us apart and fighting.
Yeah, that's it. And that's all they got to do is just sow some dividing lines, man. And it's something new. What is it? Every 4 or 5 years? You know what I mean? It's like, as far as I'm concerned, it goes, Cold War, which nothing happened. That's like the whole thing, is that nothing happened. Cold War, radical Islamic terrorism, climate change, Corona. It's just, there's always something that's pumping fear into our veins every day, every single day. And it's just gotten more severe and more fear every step of the way, man. We've got something, like the boomers, they grew up being taught how to hide under their desks, not because that's going to protect you from a nuclear bomb, but it's because it's training fear, because you should be afraid of the Russians. But if you go to Russia, they're just people that want to run businesses and hang out, man. That's it. There's some crazy people there, and there's some crazy people here. But the vast majority of people just want to relax and be left alone, man. Just be left alone.
In every country, in every culture, in every country, that is the common thread between us, is we just want to be left alone. You have no idea how many people come to me and tell me that they're communist in their mindset. And then within 5 minutes of the conversation, we start talking, and I get them to realize that they're not. They're anarcho-capitalists, because what they tell you is, I just want to I want to have my hippie garden, and I want to grow my vegetables and my weed, and I want to trade with Bill, and I don't want government involved. I'm like, that is not communism.
Right.
That is strictly capitalism, but it's anarcho-capitalism. You don't want government involved in your life. You want to just work with your neighbor and do things and help each other. And when he's down, you're going to give him the weed instead of selling it to him because he's hurting. And then when he gets a big crop and you're hurting, you want him to help you out. That has nothing to do with communism. That's human nature, and that's what capitalism really is the free flow of trade amongst people without government influence. See, we don't understand these words anymore. We don't even know what they mean. And that's done on purpose too. Fascism has been co-opted. Liberalism has been co-opted. Communism, it's all these words have been skewed and their definitions are gone. Capitalism is the worst. It's been so bastardized over the last 70 years. And what a great way for the fascists to get rid of capitalism and slide from fascism into authoritarian communism real easy.
Smooth transition, right?
Because you're blaming something that isn't even happening.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And we're just too busy screaming at each other for waving the wrong flag or saying the wrong thing or wearing the wrong shirt, when we all just want to be left alone. We all just want to be left alone. It's time to stop, man. It's time to stop.
Yep. No more fighting amongst ourselves. We're not the enemy. The enemy is the bank. And we need to focus on that, because you can see it. It's literally, that's what you see out there, is the bank is the problem. They showed their clothes today. They're naked behind the curtain. We got them. We did it. And people realize that 10 million people who buy one share is just as valuable as one guy who buys 10 million shares. The guy, and now think about that. The guy who can buy those 10 million shares, he's very fearful right now.
Oh yeah.
Because he knows that if these guys have it figured out that 10 million people can work together, he becomes powerless.
That's just it, man. And these are war times. And I think what a lot of people miss is that war isn't fought with sticks and stones or guns and knives or even nuclear bombs. In 2021, it's an info war. It's an info war. That's like, say what you will about Alex Jones. He was right about that, man. And it's the information that we need is to understand that we are in this together. We have the numbers. We have the power. It's all an illusion that they have this power over us, because they actually don't. If we all stopped screaming at each other all the time, we would be able to do this. We'd be able to do stuff like what was done today. Because the revolution will not be televised, and the revolution also won't be fought by throwing hands at each other or stabbing each other or shooting each other, because it's 2021. This is how you revolt, man. This is it. This is This is how you occupy Wall Street. This is how you do it, is you play their game and better than them, because we got the numbers, man. And it's like you said, we got 10 million people to buy $1 worth of stock, as opposed to having, 6 people in a room that pay $10 million each, because we can do it. We can do it. Like, we should all band together and just like take back the supply chains and revolt and fire every last one of these people that wants to take 45% of your income and 5% every time you fill up at the gas tank. Plus, it's more than 5% for that. 5% every time you buy groceries. They just take and take and take. You know what I mean? When we can do it better ourselves. The government is full of people. People are doing these things that the government is doing. When you talk about healthcare, when you talk about all these different things, it's just people. It's just people.
That's right. And again, that isn't even the problem. The problem is that we don't print our own money. Canada was fine up till 1974 with all of its social programs because they printed their own money into existence. You see, that's again a misconception, and it's got us fighting amongst ourselves, right? As a society, if you want to deem these things, fit, you can do them on a community level. If Kelowna wants to have socialized healthcare for Kelowna, you can go around to the citizens of Kelowna and gather up some money and fund healthcare. And you guys can do that together as a group. And I'm sure the rich ones will donate more, and the poor ones will donate what they can. And you don't need government involved in that. But the problem again is the fact that they print the money. And when we started printing our own money in Canada in 1934, when we took over the central bank, it was a really cool thing, because we spent our way out of the Depression. We built the St. Lawrence Seaway. We built CN Rail. We did all these things. Inflation wasn't drastic. And, by 1974, we still only had an $18 billion debt worldwide. We hardly owed any money because we had control of that. And in 1974, when Trudeau Sr., irony in there, he sold us out to the IMF, and we started doing that system. And our debt went from $18 billion to like $300 billion within 6 years. And inflation rates went from nothing to 24% to stop this free flow of the currency. And my parents had a mortgage back then, and they lost their house because they couldn't afford the interest rates on it. We moved to Toronto. We left BC, moved to Toronto. These are real life things that happened. And it's the bank. And we can fight if you want socialism or, and it's just another wedge between us. Right. And on all of the things that we fight about, black versus white, gays versus straights, and just everywhere down the line that there's a division in our society. It's manufactured because they don't want us talking about the bank. It's right. That's literally the only problem. Fix the bank. You fix the bank, you get rid of these vipers out of our bank, and everything changes profoundly as a society. And if we don't address that, everything else we do is a moot point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of things you can identify as huge problems, or what a lot of people would say is the problem. Like, you could say corruption in government is the problem. That's what a lot of Bernie Sanders, Kyle Kulinski people would say, is that the problem is corruption in government. But it all comes back to the bank every time. Every single time. The way that they corrupt the government officials is by getting involved with the bank. Because like you said, if you print the money, you write the laws. That's it. That's how it's always been, man. And you look at every country that resists the central bank. Who is it, Keith? Is it Syria? Is it Iran? Is it Venezuela? Iraq?
Afghanistan, yeah. In 2000,
what else do these countries have in common, Keith?
Well, they're the ones that we bomb the shit out of daily.
Yeah.
Because they're not subservient to the central bank.
And we sanction medicine going into these countries too, man. And then we blame them for we say, oh, Venezuela, socialism, but we're backing a country that sanctions medicine going in there for sick kids and sick people. It's a disgrace, man.
And what's even funnier is that we bred that because we were fascistly trying to control them right from the 50s when the CIA took over the United States. Basically took over the United States. They went into Iran first. They took that country over. Then they hit all of the Central American countries, and they installed governments in there because they wanted to control all the products. You see, this is something that's been going on for a long time. And then, so when the Venezuelans break away from you and say, you know what, screw you, we're going to get rid of your guy. We're going to bring in our military and we're going to nationalize the oil. Everybody goes, look at these communists.
Right.
And spread all over our newspapers, and we hate them. and we hate those people. And again, the problem isn't anything other than it's the fascist dictators of this world that control all of our banking system, who didn't like the fact that these guys weren't playing with them. And I'm not saying that your system is good or bad, and I'm not promoting communism or socialism. I'm a free market guy, but I'm willing to have that debate as long as we have the control of the bank.
Right.
Give us back the bank, print the money, back it with gold, back it with silver. Don't inflate it, and then we can discuss whatever you want. Everything can come on the table. We can have that conversation.
That's it.
As for society, and we can do it as civil beings. But until that happens, there will be no discourse, because there is no solution to the problem.
That's just it, man. That's just it. And, you know, it sounds kind of wacky, red pill, bad man red pill, coming in and saying that these same people control the narrative as well. But, man, you follow this money, it goes straight from, like, the bank to people like the Koch brothers. There's a direct line to the Koch brothers to guys like Charlie Kirk and Ben Shapiro that brainwash young men like me that are angry at the system. And they say, you know whose fault it is? It's those leftists. It's those socialists. It's those people that say a woman in Congress. You know, and they get us all riled up, when really it's their boss. It's Charlie Kirk's boss, man. It's Ben Shapiro's boss. And the same thing, there's a direct line going to the Young Turks. You know what I mean? And all these, like, you know, people like Elizabeth Warren that they think are their friend, these people that just want to steal their money, man. When we need, I've said it before and I'll say it again, we need to fire every last one of these people, man. Every last one of them.
William Buckley, back in like 1968, he's an American media guy, very well read, Boston accent, very, you know, formal. Anyways, he said, I would rather open up the phone book and take the first 2,000 names out of that to run government than I would to elect these people, because those the ones who are running are just horrible. Just like open up the phone book and you'll do better with the first 2,000 names in the phone book than you ever would, you know, allowing these corrupt bastards to run your country. But again, it's a deeper problem. It's the bank, and we've forgotten. We haven't had a free bank in this country in your lifetime. We haven't had it since 1974. I was 3 years old when we lost control of Canada, and you know, I'm still alive from an era where that happened. And I grew up in a beautiful little town, and I watched the life get sucked right out of that town. It's a little beautiful town in the mountains. It had really good tourism. It was growing like a bad weed. And 74 happened. And by 1980, there hasn't been a pulse in that valley since 1980. That's 40 years. And there's a reason for that, is because the wealth is being sucked out of this country and fed to a central vacuum. And it happens everywhere around the world, and nobody's talking about it. And I'm telling you, they're scared. The ones in power are scared of the banks, because you watch films and you see Kennedy get his head blown off, and you watch what happens when the insurrection starts in another country. And they love that word. They called what we did today an insurrection.
Yeah. Michael Bloomberg's paper called it that.
That's right. And so language is very important, and the way they frame things is very important, because they control that media, and they're doing these things on purpose. And if the mainstream media calls something an insurrection right now, get behind it, because they don't want us. They don't want us to push back. They don't want anything to change. But let's just all remember, whatever you're fighting, whatever you're out there and you're fighting your cause for. Remember that the problem is the bank, because you can trace it all back. It always funnels back to who funded this, and they're printing it at will. They're doing whatever they want with our currency.
That's just it, man. And I talk to so many people when we're talking politics, policies, like a lot of my friends know I campaigned with Keith McIntyre for the Libertarian Party in Penticton, and he got a lot of love. He definitely got a lot of love. But a lot of people that I talk to, they go, I hate the government. I don't vote. Why would I vote? I hate the government. And, and a lot of people go, yeah, nobody's going to do anything, but I vote conservative. Otherwise, it's a waste of time. You know what I mean? They say things like that. But, man, every last one of these people, it just like if we all got together and bought into GameStop, we could make these mortgage firms go bankrupt. And if everybody who said that voted for their local libertarian, we could get these people in the room. We could get these people in the room who are talking about the bank. It wouldn't just be Bad Man Red Pill on your Facebook feed saying these things, because a lot of people are hearing this and they know that you're right, Keith. They know that you're right, but they won't vote for you because the TV man told them that if they vote for you, they'll split the vote. Even though they know that you're right. They know that you're right, and they know that if you got into power, you would do a lot of good things, man, and you would give them a lot of money back that they earned and that they deserve.
I'd fix our money.
That's it, man. People like commie Doug Ford try and tell me what he's conserving. I don't know what that guy's conserving, okay? People like Doug Ford, all they want to do is take your money, get a pension, get a paycheck, and send policemen on horseback to break up protests when you try to open up your damn barbecue business, man. That's what he wants. He wants to eat McDonald's on your dime, So stop voting for these people, man. The mask is off. The mask is off. If you get together with your friends and you buy stocks that these people in the club have decided is good, they just decide together that stock's going to crash. If you buy into that with your friends and you make it skyrocket, they'll shut you down. They'll shut you down. They don't want you to have that power. They don't want you to know about the bank, and they don't want you to know about your libertarian candidate. They don't want you to know any of these things. So vote for your libertarian, man. If you guys are in Ontario, look up Kieth Komar and vote for this man. If you're in Okanagan, vote for Matt Badura, vote for Keith McIntyre, vote for these people. Get them in the room.
Find your local candidate, vote for him. If you don't have a local candidate, reach out to the party itself. Ask who the local candidate is. Start up a constituency association. We can beat them at their own game. We can out-elect these people. Just like what happened on Reddit. You can start the same movement on the ground. You can do the same thing at the ballot box. Just all of a sudden one day go on your game and start talking to each other and say, you know what? We're not going to tell anybody, but we're all going to vote Libertarian. We're going to find a Libertarian candidate in our riding and we're going to vote for him. And I don't care who he is. All I know is that he's a Libertarian and he's not going to force me into servitude. And maybe someone out there said that he likes to hate on the banks, and that's a good thing too. And just do it. You have the ultimate power. And I tell everybody the same thing is when you say you have to pick a winner, well, you can, but you just all have to get together to pick that winner. So, you don't have to vote conservative. You don't have to vote liberal. Talk about it. Spread the word. Use the word out there. Let people know who we are. Again, I'm not the end of the world savior of anybody, but I understand that the problem is the bank. And I know that if we fix the bank, all of these other problems go away in a real hurry. And I also can watch and see that anybody who opposes the bank is the world's demon. And I can also see that those who oppose the bank get shot or killed. So there has to be something very valuable about controlling the bank if they're willing to shoot a president of the United States in an open car in front of people wide open and try to cover it up.
Yeah.
If they're willing to do that,
everyone knows that's what happened.
Sure. If they're willing to do that in front of you, they're willing to do anything to keep control of that bank. And that should be, again, that's your red flag out there, people. That's the one that they guard the most. They let us do other things. They let us fight a little bit. They'll even let us protest and, kick in a few doors and some gates and get a little bit angry out there. But you can't question the bank. That's just not allowed to happen.
I know someone who will, and I hope everybody votes for you, man, when that election comes up. Keith Komar, man. You got to get these people in power. And, dude, I know people that just scratch out the whole ballot that say, I don't like any of these people. I'm not going to vote for them. How about vote for the candidate that's going to scare the shit out of everybody that you don't want to vote for? How about that, man? Vote for somebody that will at least shift the Overton window a little bit, man.
But get involved with your local candidates and get involved. If you hate what's going on, be a monkey wrench. Drop your wrench in the gear. Screw it up. Screw up the system as bad as you can. And if you don't see a Libertarian on the ballot, find an independent candidate. He's not beholden to anybody. He's beholden to you at that point. And if he doesn't have a party affiliation and he's willing to go through the rigmarole of putting his name on the ballot and getting his signatures and going around knocking on doors, he's obviously passionate about your community. So he's worth a look. I don't care who that independent is. Have a look at that independent. I started a page before I joined the Libertarian Party, and it was called Elect an Independent. And my thought process was that if we elect more than 50% independent candidates around the country, the parties can no longer form government. You have to have a majority to form government. So even if all other 5 parties got together, if they didn't have a majority, they couldn't form government. And the independents could then make an independent coalition of MPs, and they could form government and pick their own prime minister out of their herd. And we would change the world if we did that. Mm-hmm. But then, because I'm an intelligent person, I look into the process and I realize that to actually elect an independent candidate is almost impossible because they have all the election funds locked down. You can't raise funds as an independent until the writ drops. The table is heavily skewed towards a party.
Of course.
Done on purpose. So as I get deeper into this game, I understand that the independent thing doesn't work. It's a great idea and it's noble that if we were to actually do that, it would be a wonderful thing. But having the party affiliation allows you to raise funds and allows you to play their game on their rules. But being a libertarian, we're as close to an independent as you're going to find, right? We can't even agree on shit ourselves as libertarians. We have so many different ideas and avenues of how we want to see this end up. We all want the same thing at the end of the day. We want ultimate freedom and liberty. We want everybody to be maximized in their opportunities to succeed. But we all have different visions of how to get there. And that's great. And let's have those conversations on the table, but let's put the banner on and say, I'm a libertarian. And even though I don't agree with how you're going to get there, we have the same end goal. And let's work together to get to that end goal. The ANCAPs out there, the minarchists, the classical liberals, let's join hands.
Mm-hmm.
The civil libertarians join us. The fiscal libertarians who aren't maybe so socially liberal understand that it's all freedoms or no freedoms. Let's link arms. Let's push back. Let's fix our bank. Let's get control of our currency, and then let's give our money back and our value back to the people and allow them to create wealth, like this was supposed to happen.
That's just it, man. That's just it. And for every person that has felt too discouraged to vote libertarian, but they want to, I've met a lot of people like that, man. I've met a lot of people that think that just everybody should feel a new vigor from what happened today, a new excitement. We should all feel so emboldened by what we saw today, man. We saw gamers with anime t-shirts just completely destroy these hedge fund managers that we all hate. We all hate them.
They pulled out the biggest economic dildo ever created by people and shoved it right up corporate ass. Is what they did today. And I love it. And anybody who hates government smiled and completely loved it today. And you know what? Those are the kids, and I'm guilty of this more than most people. I say today's society, you're all screwed. You're all a bunch of, chili fry eating fuckers playing video games. You're wasting time, right? But you did it today. You showed them. You showed me. You showed everybody. And kudos to all of you. I wish I had enough money. I'd buy you all a new headset for your gaming system.
I think they can afford it, man. I think they can afford it now.
Well, yeah, but remember what we did too. Remember what you guys did, and everybody see that it didn't take a lot to really throw a wrench in the system. And they've had this wall up, and that's what they keep telling you at the ballot box too, is that you can't make a movement. Well, we just showed. They showed you can, and it didn't take much, and it didn't take long for you guys to get together, networking, and really throw it to them. So let's do that at the ballot box. Let's throw it to these guys. Let's all get organized quietly and not tell the polls and not talk to those guys, and know that I don't have to get on the debate stage because they won't let me talk there. Find me on Facebook. I'm willing to do Zoom calls with you. If you want your community to have a talk with me, I'll talk with you guys. Let's organize together on our terms, and let's just hit them at the ballot box cold like these kids did today. Let's outsmart them. I think we can do it. I think we're smart enough to do it. And I think there's enough people out there who've had enough of what's going on that we can do that. And there's only two things that I'm going to put on the table. I'm going to, of course, write up a big flowery platform of how I'd like to see the world. But I promise you two things. We'll fix the money, and we'll rout out all of these evil bastards that are controlling you. And the rest I'll leave on the table, and we can discuss how we want to proceed after that. Let's get rid of these guys. Let's rout the bank out. And let's start there and see what we can build in a really good society in at least in Ontario to start, and hopefully across the country, because Tim Owen is another superstar, and I'm going to shout out to him, because if he was prime minister, we'd have a lot less problems. I promise you that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And he wouldn't be in my house. He wouldn't be on my face. He wouldn't be in my church. You know what I mean? Everywhere I go, there's a government agent or there's a government mandate, man. It's on my face. It's on the internet. It's in my church. It's everywhere, man. It's everywhere I go. It's in my ears when I go into a corporate store. It's everywhere that I go. It's in every aspect of our lives, man. And we all know what happens when the government is involved in every aspect of your life, man. And it might not happen in my lifetime. It might be the next. It might be the one after that. But if we allow them to bloat this hard and get this involved and just make this level of have this level of our own decision making in our lives, someone's going to pay. Someone's going to pay the price. And I don't know exactly what it'll look like. I don't know if it's going to be AI Amazon bots coming in to chop your head off in the middle of the night because you committed a thought crime. I don't know if it's going to be that, or I've got no idea. Maybe it'll be like legit gulags. Who knows? I'm just saying someone's going to pay. Someone's going to pay. And we can't let them do this, Keith. We can't let them do this and get this invasive. It's wrong.
We've given the last inch. I'm adamant about that, and that's my new phrase. And I picked it up yesterday when we were talking. I've been really thinking about my illegal ball hockey game a lot, and how this is going to play out. I've been pondering. I've probably spent way too many hours considering what can happen, and there's a multitude of end results to this. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I'm done giving the government inches. I'm done giving these guys inches in my life. You know, I let them lock me down in March, and I screamed about it, but I didn't really fight that hard. And then I started going to the protests, and then they let that go on for a little while, and now they won't let us protest anymore. And you know, they're clamping down harder and harder and harder every day. They're taking away hockey. They're not letting kids skate. You can't go to school. They don't let old people see their family. They're dying alone. And I've given my last inch. I'm done with this. You don't even talk about solutions. Did you see in the news now? Joe Biden, they've approved hydroxychloroquine all of a sudden. All of a sudden, after, you know, killing how many thousands, hundreds of thousands of people.
Yeah.
They finally approved hydroxychloroquine now that Biden is the president. So this is a game. They're playing a game with their lives, and they don't even talk about those two things in Canada. We're still on Orange Man bad on hydroxychloroquine. Right. Ivermectin isn't spoken about. There's solutions to this virus that do not involve shutting down your business. And there's studies being done around the world, and you don't need a vaccine. It's mildly infectious to the younger crowd. It's not going to hurt you, and stop this. There's been 3 deaths from coronavirus in the last 10 months in Canada. And how many deaths to suicide under the age of 20 have happened in this country in the last 10 months? I'm going to hazard a guess that it's more than 3. And I certainly am tired of watching young kids die in this country with no hope. And I'm tired of watching society fall apart around me because they have no hope left in them. And every little last drop of hope we had, they've taken from us. And that's the very last inch that I am willing to give. I'm done. It's over. No more inches, people. We can no longer give them any more inches. And if you have a chance, buy a stock. Get together with the gamers. Let's do it again. Let's continue to do this until it totally crushes them, until they have to print $10 more trillion and blow the currency to shreds just to keep up. Let's make them make their, show your hand. Let's play. We're done with this.
That's it, man. That's it. Now, I'm just realizing we got a bunch of comments on Facebook that aren't coming through to this streaming service here. Should we burn through some of those, man?
Yeah, let's roll, man.
All right. We got allegedly Suzanne Robertson. I know you know her, hey?
Yes, I do. Hey.
Is she going to your Doug Ford hockey game tomorrow?
I promise you she will be there. Her and Mike are always there. They're my most adamant supporters, and they're the ones who started this game, and I've just co-opted it from them, and I've done a really poor job of getting people to show up, but they are always there, and I thank them both for coming out because they're fantastic people.
Nice, man. Now, my friend Sarah, who runs Resistance Wear clothing line, and everybody should look her up, Sarah Bankert. She's like the second commenter here. She says we need to wipe the slate clean and start over. Is that do you think the Libertarian Party's in line with that?
Yeah. We need to totally change the system. I'm not opposed to writing a new constitution. I'm not opposed to anything. All I know that ultimately the one thing that has to happen the next time anybody who wants freedom gets in control of this government is they need to fix our money, because that is the number one evil that goes on. And if we don't have control of our money, we're screwed. Period.
Yeah, man. We got Art. I hope I'm pronouncing your last name right there. Art Lucier. That guy knows all about freedom, and he's paid a price, and he's a legend. He's in here, and that's good, man. He said good stuff, guys. And then Danny Duck, who's a legend in and of himself, he says, unplug your television if you don't want to live in fear. What do you think, Keith?
100%. I haven't watched TV in 6 years. I pick up if I want to watch anything, like if I want to watch Tucker Carlson or something, I will go and watch it on YouTube. I don't have any commercials. I do not subject myself to corporate media, and it helps. It opens your eyes. It allows you to see the world for what it really is.
Yeah, man. And Chris Allnut says I should bring my stash back. I don't think so, man. Kim told me I looked like a porn star, so I'm not bringing that one back anytime soon.
70s porn stash. It'll come back in style one day. It's not there yet, though, so don't do it.
And I'm cruising through. Sorry if I got to skip some of them, guys. There's too many. Santana won't vote. She won't vote. She says she's a holistic anarchist and will never vote. That seems like a big waste of time to me, man. What do you think, Keith?
That's okay. Well, and you have no idea how many anarchists come to me and tell me that same thing, and that's fine. You're 100% entitled to your decision, and I'd love to get to that end zone with you where we don't have government ever again. But that's 60 or 70 years away, and you need to elect libertarian government after libertarian government to get there. It's a long road to freedom from where we are today. And unfortunately, there's still going to be a boot climbing up your ass, no matter you vote or not, whether you participate or not. The hammer of government is deep in your life, and it will continue to affect you unless you move totally off grid. And if you want to do that, I'm cool with that too. I support you, but there's still a boot coming, and you could make change. There's people out there who want to make change.
That's it, man. That's it. Frank Pezzo is wondering, how do you spell your last name?
K-O-M as in Mary, A-R.
Nice. And then Mike Livingston says, I just lost it. There's quite a few Gen X that are hoping their Zoomer kids will pick up the ball we've supposedly dropped. I've got faith in the Zoomers, man. I really do. I think that we're low morale, but I think we're there. A lot of the Gen Zers, like my age and younger, basically, I think they're very program oriented. And I think that that's something that these elites have not really realized, is that we understand programs, we understand games, and we know a game when we see one. And these gamers demonstrated that today. They picked up on the rules and they played the game.
I have renewed faith after today.
For real. And I love you too, Santana. Danny says, you want freedom? Take it back. I had 15 people at my house for Christmas. Enough of this. Yes, Danny Duck. You are the resistance, my friend.
That's right.
Well, listen, Keith, I got to run, man. I actually got somebody blowing up my phone, but I want to plug your thing for you, and I hope you plug it too. Road hockey at Doug Ford's tomorrow, man. I've posted it on my Facebook. You've posted it on yours. What can you tell the people about that, dude?
We're going to show up 1 p.m. We want to start the game. We're going to try to meet a little bit earlier and head out in front of his house. It's a peaceful protest. It's to show the absurdity that things like road hockey are being, made illegal by these edicts. And at the end of the day, we want to show them that we're not taking, there's no more inches to take. And I'm doing it at Doug Ford's house, and I get a lot of flack from that. And I'll tell you why I picked his house. There's already like a detail of 30 cops watching him, and I hate wasting resources. I'm a fiscal libertarian at heart, and if I go protest somewhere else, they're going to have to send 30 other cops to do that, and then there's shit going down in the city. So I might as well go to where the cops are and just have the conversation there. I'd hate to waste their time and my time. Let's just do this and have the conversation right in front of his house, and bring it to him. But yeah, that's my thing. And I want to end this with one thought for all of you out there. One of your commenters brought it to my mind. A right is only as good as you're willing to protect it yourself with your life. Anything less than that is a privilege. If you're not willing to stand up for yourself, someone will take it away from you at any given moment when they deem it more suiting for them than it is for you. You protect your rights. No government document that we write, no edict from God will protect that unless you're willing to stand up and do it.
Yeah.
So take your rights in your own hands and do your thing. 15 people at Christmas, fantastic. I love it. And that's where I'm going to end this. Peace to all of you out there, and stop fighting with your neighbor and look at what the real problem is. It's the currency. Fix our money. These guys own you. And they own you at the most base root of how to do it. They own your representation of labor. That is your currency. Take it back.
Take it back, man. Take it back. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. This is another episode of the Red Pilled Rapper Show on thoughtcrimes.ca. You can find me on YouTube under Mitch Murphy, and you can find a litany of my episodes on the Jack Clausen Radio Network on all streaming platforms. Just look up the Jack Clausen Radio Network, and any episode titled The Red Pilled Rapper Show, that's me. That's your boy. That's it. That's what it's all about. We love freedom. We want to be brave. We want to live free. We want to take our vitamin D, and we want to hug our family. And Kieth knows all about that, man. And if you guys live in Ontario, please, for the love of God, go to Doug Ford's house and play street hockey. Just be brave and live free. Play some street hockey and buy Misfortune cookies from David Cup at misfortunecookie.ca.